In this week's episode, we talk about zero-cost marketing strategies, whether it's a good or bad idea to take on business partners, and we have an honest conversation about how serious it is when the Lord says, I am with you. Hi and welcome to episode 50 of Business Greenhouse TV. Little milestone today, 50 episodes of the TV show. We did actually start about 2 years ago aiming to do one a week, but with all the travel and with the 7 months that we spent in the caravan, we're finally there. Episode 50 of putting these out for you, which has been a real delight. Just wanted to let you know that one of the things is we actually produce the show as a podcast as well. So if you've got an iPhone, you can go to iTunes and get it every single week from there. Or if you've got an Android phone, you can go to Stitcher and you can get it there. It's called the Business Greenhouse Podcast. I know watching it sometimes isn't the easiest, so you can have a listen to it while you're driving, mowing the lawn, doing whatever you're doing if you go and get the podcast. So just to go and get that, we'll put up a little URL along here. Just businessgreenhouse.com.au/podcast, and then you can go straight there and go and listen to them that way if you want to, which has been super fun. We've got people all over the world downloading the podcast, which is great, and want to increase that reach is my secret or not so secret agenda. Now, if you do go to the iTunes specifically podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, rate, and review. So you subscribe to the show, rate it 5 stars, and then just write a quick review. Because what that does is that allows the podcast to be in the new and noteworthy section, and it'll stay there for longer, which means we pick up an even greater reach. And just on that point, there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that would not call themselves a Christian who listen to this show, and I want more and more of those people. So by rating it and reviewing it, you're helping me stay there for longer so that more people can find it, which is a real blessing for me. All right, let's get into this week's show. What's our first question?
Grace Devon asks, business partners, someone wanting to buy into your business, pros and cons.
Grace, I've had a bit of experience with business partners. Some good, mostly bad. So let me just kind of give you the unbiased answer to this. Ultimately, the concept of business partner is very clever, especially when, if we're talking about selling, a slice of our company to raise capital as a shareholder who's going to become a business partner. So you're selling them a slice of the business and they come in as a business partner. It can be a very good way to raise capital. Okay, and I see far too many people who are they're really burdened by the thought of giving away equity, and it doesn't make sense to me. I think you're better off to own 50% of a big business than 100% of a little one. It's just better. And the other thing to bear in mind is, if you do this more than once and you give away lots of slices of your business, you're not actually giving it all away because you'll dilute everybody in time. So, somebody that ends up with 16%, by the time you put more and more and more and more shares on issue, they might end up with only 5% anyway. So it's not like you keep giving away a slice of the pie. Obviously, you want to make sure you own 51%, ideally, as a minimum. But you can give away the rest and keep diluting people and raising more money. So it's a good idea. Let's say it's not a shareholding, but you're just bringing somebody in as a business partner. Because they can add some to your skill set or something like that. The pro, of course, is that if you are a single operator and you're the kind of person that likes to work in a team, you've now got more people around you. You can bounce off each other. The pros are that when you're down, they're up. When they're down, you're up, and you can kind of buoy the business along a little bit better. Of course, skill sets, so you can have different roles, different responsibilities. And get twice as much done because there's twice as many people. So all of those are pros. And when they work incredibly well. I've got many friends who have been in 20 to 30 year business partnerships. They're rare, but I think after a period of time, 5-6 years, they're probably going to last the distance, because by then you would have had enough friction that you kind of learn how to work together. But there are plenty of cons to be careful of, and I'd say these are probably more worth talking about. The pros are fairly obvious. The cons, I think in the romantic starting of the partnership, that's where most people get it wrong. It's like, we're never going to have a problem. We get on really well. We think the same, whatever. Like, it's this romantic thing of we're going to go build something great together. Great, and there should be that, and it needs to have that romantic start. But also, I don't think it's being a very good steward of a business if we abdicate thinking through the what ifs at the end. So for me, when I do a partnership agreement, I always sit down with that partner, agreeing to set a whole series of milestones of events. And we do a, if this, then this. If this happens, then this happens. If one of us wants to sell in 12 months, this is what we already predetermined is going to happen. If somebody wants to sell in 2 years when we're making a small profit, this is what I predetermined. In 3 years, if one of us wants to sell, then here's the formula. We'll work out already what the profitability and value is going to be to pay somebody out. If this happens, this happens. If we don't agree on this, we execute. So basically, you take the time at the start to think through scenarios that could go wrong, and you document the outcome that you both agree on. That means in 36 months' time, if you have a fallout and it gets emotional and there's more money at stake than there was at the beginning when everyone was broke, then you can sit down and execute the document. And it makes it very easy to go, well, we said this, bang, here's the formula, paying all out, whatever the solution is. The time spent at the start of the relationship, nailing those details it saves tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, potentially, a whole bunch of emotional headache, and it just makes a whole clear-cut way to exit at the end. Now, of course, by having that, it makes everything really, really clear. The chances are the relationship just stays good. All of that time passes, and you just go on to have a great relationship and a partnership and so on. So that's in terms of documenting. On the day-to-day, this is where a lot of partnerships get it wrong. There's no reporting to each other on the day-to-day activities of the business, all right? So the mistake is like, well, I just let them do their role and they just let me do their role. And the problem with this, there's usually a dominant personality out of the two, and they become the pseudo boss, if you like, of the pair, the relationship, and that's really unhealthy, especially if it's the other person. Because they can assert that dominance and put everything out. The way that I remove all of that is I would set the roles and responsibilities of both parties, very, very clear, documented, and probably revisit this every 12 months, because as you bring on more staff and departments grow and change, you probably have to do this, but documenting roles, responsibilities, and KPIs, key performance indicators. What's the role? What does it look like? And how do we know it's successful? And you do that for both of the partners. And then they report their data to each other. So if this one's this department and this one's this department, as they're doing their job on a Friday, you send an email to each other. This is what I did for the week. This is what I did for the week. And it removes any transparency, okay, to do this. That's how you stop dividing, and then over time it becomes a catastrophe because you're reporting to each other all the time. So that's a great way to eliminate a lot of the issues along the way. And let me just tell you an interesting story about my background. I went into partnership with a guy back in 2006 in a business, and in the excitement of setting it all up, stupid Wes, who turns up quite often, neglected to, so the other fellow that I was going into business with set up the business bank accounts. And just in the busyness of it all, because we all had so many jobs to do, he set up the accounts, I did a bunch of other tasks. We were going to get around to putting 2 signatories on the bank, but for the moment it was just this fellow. We'll call him Steve for the sake of it, to protect him. His name wasn't Steve, it was Eric, but we'll call him Steve. And just went away and did his own thing, and ended up, when the relationship went sour a little bit later, he basically just said, oh, well, I'm the only signatory, I'm keeping all the money in the account, nothing you can do about it. And there are great lessons to learn along the way. So you just want to tighten those things up. Partnerships can be excellent, they can be vibrant, they can make you a lot of money because it's twice as many brains, twice as many skill sets. And if one can put 1,000 to fly, 2 can put 10,000 to fly. So it's a very good idea, but just be careful. Make sure you take the time to dot your I's, cross your T's, and then you'll have a great relationship. Solid question.
Carrie McLean asks, what are some effective ways to advertise and promote my business with very limited cash flow, or how to increase cash flow quickly.
Carrie, I'm going to give you two, and I'm not going to cost you not much at all, and it costs you zero, all right? Zero to set up, because I know what it's like when you first start a business. You know, you need customers, you don't always have a good budget. Let's work on some strategies that are going to cost you zero to go and set up. All right, the first one is the one that everybody hates, okay? It's called cold calling, all right? I know everyone goes, oh, why would you have to do that? And there's all these seminar people out there that are teaching you never cold call again. There's merit to it. Send them something first, then it's not a cold call. Problem with that is it costs you money, right? The reason why people are still calling you at 6 p.m. when you're trying to sit down to dinner is because it works. Cold calling works, but not in the sleazy way that everybody does it, right? Literally, I mean, when we teach cold calling to our clients, we do a 180. We tell people to get on the phone, introduce themselves, basically state what they're looking for, and then give the person on the phone a chance to back out. We want people to back out. No point in spending 9 minutes going through a monologue when it was a no at the start, because you could have made, 7 more calls in that time to find the yes. So literally, if now you might be like, I'm not doing cold calling, cool, but then great, you may not ever build a great business. Literally, it's like, hi Mary, my name is X, you don't know me yet. I'm calling up, we work with these people to achieve this outcome, and all I'm looking to do is call up and find out if there's any interest for our services. You got to kind of fill in the blanks, but it's very simple. Hi, you don't know me yet. We are this company that deal with these kind of people to bring this kind of solution. Is there any interest for that? No. Awesome. I'll let you get back to it. Goodbye. Next one. And all you're looking for is a, yes, we've been thinking about something like that. Bang, now you're in. Spend another 60 seconds, go through the process, try and book a meeting, try and book another call, whatever your next step in your process is. If you were to just decide to do big enough numbers, you would get a great result. Okay, so when I say big enough numbers, I mean, commit to doing 100, 200, 300 of those phone calls over 2 or 3 days, and you'll start to get a picture of how many calls it takes to get how many interested parties to get a customer. Okay, the stuff works. Okay, it works incredibly well. Our clients do it. They've picked up some of their biggest business in the world through calling people that way. And if you can master using the phone to ring people that don't know you, there's nothing you cannot have in life. That's to anybody. If you can answer just picking up the phone or ringing people you don't know, knowing that it's totally okay to do that, then you can have anything you want in life, okay? You have no problem walking up to somebody at a barbecue that you don't know and saying g'day. It's no different. It's just somebody on the phone and you're ringing them up and you're making an introduction. And you have to go through quantity to find the quality, okay? You're never gonna make 10 phone calls and get 4 customers. You're gonna make 10 phone calls and get probably 10 no's. You need to do 100 before you get a bit of a clear picture on what happens with that. Okay, strategy number 2 that costs you no money. Ask yourself this question: who already has my customer? Who is already dealing with my ideal customer? Okay, so if your ideal customer was business people, then who is already dealing with business people? Not the obvious industries. Anybody who is already selling, who is already in relationship with your customers. Okay, so for example, who's our customers? Business people. Who's already in relationship with business people? The stationery supplier, the telco, okay? The cleaning company that do commercial. Think really outside the box. Who is already dealing with your customers, okay? And then go and approach those people and say, I've got an idea about how we can work together to mutually benefit. I'll do some promotion to some people I know on your behalf. You can do some promotion of me to people that you know. And we're gonna cross-collateralize our database. Not that we're sending each other databases, but if I put out a monthly newsletter, I'm gonna promote them in my monthly newsletter. If they put out a monthly newsletter, then they can promote me to their database with an offer. Or, depending on your industry, you might decide to do a lunch and learn. I'll bring 10 customers, you bring 10 customers, and we'll promote to each other's databases through some sandwiches and 1 hour of teaching, or whatever. There's a million ways to put that together. But most people are looking for ways to grow their business. So why wouldn't we just do the obvious one, set up some sort of joint venture with a non-competing business that already has your customer and find a way to mutually market so that you're both benefiting from the relationship. Just a quick story. I did this, I've done hundreds of these for our businesses and for our clients. when I had my window cleaning company back here in Australia, I've had 3 of those. 2 were in London, 1 was here. This was going back quite a few years, maybe 14. So we would do all the high rises. We would clean windows in high rise buildings, and so I would be working for somebody setting up a business on the side, because it was those early years of, the business wasn't quite big enough. But one of the strategies I did was I went and found a person who was do pressure cleaning. So they'd have a big gurney, big machine, and clean a building. And basically, we just did a joint venture. Every time he cleaned a building, the building was filthy. The windows are filthy because they cleaned all the mud off top to bottom, and then we would come along at the end and clean the windows. Every time we cleaned windows on a tower where the tower was dirty, I would make an introduction to my friend to be a pressure cleaner, okay? And we would just work together that way. And we found each other tons and tons of work that way, and it cost us 0, okay? A little bit of time to set it up and a bit of time to do the introductions to the new people, and that was it. So you just got to ask yourself, who they got to be non-competing, and they're already working with your customer, and then just call them up and say, listen, I've got an idea. They won't all get it. Don't try and slam them with it. They won't get it. Find the people who are sympathetic to the message, go and have meetings with them, set up 6 different joint ventures, and go and get a whole bunch of clients that cost you absolutely nothing. Great question. All right, word of the week. This week I want to go to Joshua 1:9. I just want to pull one bit of the scripture out of Joshua 1:9 and then talk about how it's all the way through the Bible and essentially what it means. Joshua 1:9, you probably recall, Joshua's just taken over from Moses, and the Lord's kind of getting him ready to take the people over the promised land. And he says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? We know that. I think I've done another whole segment on strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not be discouraged. And this is a bit I want to pick up on. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. The Lord your God will be with you. And that's mentioned a whole bunch of times in Joshua. It says it to Moses, it says it to Abraham, for I am with you, I am with you, I am with you. It's in the New Testament. Jesus says, I am with you. And what does it mean, I am with you? Because, it's like as I walk through my day, as I go and get my mail, and as I go and see a customer, and as I go and have a meeting with a staff member, what does it mean that he is with me? Is it that spiritually the Lord is like at my side when I go? Maybe. Is it that there is some invisible force? I don't know. But what it actually means, it actually basically means that the kingdom is fighting for us at every opportunity so that we win. It is all the power of the promises of the gospel following us wherever we go, okay? It is the intercession of the Lord to the Father that is going before every meeting, before every opportunity. It is this invisible, intangible kingdom that goes before us when we are doing what the Lord has asked us to do. So this is a bit of a trap. Some people completely disregard, like they're a Sunday Christian and they expect the kingdom to move. No. You got, like we said in last week's episode, what's your assignment? Start doing your assignment. When you are walking in the anointing, and the anointing, if you look at the Bible, the anointing was never on a person for the person's sake. It was on a person to complete a task. Okay, that's where the favor comes in, is when you're walking and doing exactly what the Lord has asked you to do. Because that's where there's extra juice. Just like when they poured oil over their beards in the Old Testament, it was to go and do a task. It wasn't just so they could run around and say, I'm highly favored, okay? And this is more than, a stupid car park at Christmas time that you pray for and you get. This is far deeper, right? This is like, I'm doing what the Lord has asked me independently to do. And when I do that and engage that, the Lord will be with me, meaning that he will fight for me. He will fight in front of me. Entire angelic realms will move behind me. It's a big deal. This is a big deal. This is not like I am with you. Yeah, I'm skipping through life with Jesus, arm to arm. This is like the power, the full gospel power of the kingdom is behind you, backing you if you take it seriously enough. And that is why I, in my business world, in my property, in my business, whatever I'm into, I expect to win because I'm doing my assignment, I'm training people. This is what the Lord's asked me to do. And because I'm doing this, I expect that my businesses will prosper, and they do every single year. They're 2 to 3 times the size because I've engaged my assignment, I'm doing it because He is with me. It's so much bigger than just like walking with me. It's the power of the kingdom. The hope, every promise that was ever made to anybody is backing me and going before me. And that is why we win. All right, don't forget, if you want to get this on iTunes, just go to businessgreenhouse.com.au/podcast. There's a button there for iTunes, button there for Stitcher. If you've got an Android phone, you just link straight out and you can go and start to do those. But if you do it for me, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars, and review. Give it a little comment. That would mean that we can just reach so many more people. That's episode 50 done. We'll be back next week with episode 51. Until then, have a super week. Bye for now.